And I think that you inspire me to talk about stuff. And you are the best partner I could ever have. And I told you this last week, I wouldn't want to be quarantined with anyone else except for you.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, and I think like you're right. Like I feel like I'm stepping into this new place in my life where like I want to help people or empower people that like are or have been in the situation that I have, because I feel like there's a lot. And I don't know, like, I think that, like, honoring it for me has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still getting there, I think, like, feeling like, okay, like, this did happen, like, you're strong for it, and, like, all of that. It's easier for me to kind of be like, this will help other people. So, like, let me focus on that. Or, like, wow, like, I had some really good family and I had some really good friends that, like, didn't turn their back on me during that time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's comfortable for me to like, or it's comfortable and natural for me to honor that. And it's been harder for me to like honor myself for like going through that. But I think that that is a step to being able to help people,
Yeah.
because I think people can sense that.
Well, I think people will be like that. Well, that's what pain looks like. Pain doesn't always look like the sad guy or girl in the dark room with their hair over their face, right? Sometimes it's really happy, like Robin Williams, you know what I mean, who committed suicide and been in some of the greatest comedy movies of all time, right? I think it's important that people know it looks different ways. And so I think that you're part of a bigger solution and stuff. And it's just a start. I never thought you'd talk about any of that. I really didn't. And I mean that in a good way, because I think it's a good, huge step that you're taking. And I think that you should be proud of yourself, for sure. Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it. And so I'm really glad that you talked about that. What is there more that you want to talk about on that? Is there anything that you feel like you left out? Do you feel like people are understanding you, or do you feel like there's more to it or something? No.
Not that I can think of. I mean, I think that yeah, just giving that like I definitely am grateful that I was able to move past that in my life. I do feel that like you go through things like to make yourself stronger,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that like there was many years that like I kind of wish that like that relationship didn't happen. Um but I feel like it like brought me to where like I needed to be. And so I think that like maybe that's a good message for people too, like maybe not even it having to be like a situation of an abusive relationship, but just a relationship that you look back on and you're just like, oh, like I hate that that happened. I hate that I did that. But like being able to come to a place where you're able to like just acknowledge that person or that situation for happening in the way it did, and being grateful for like what growth you're able to get from it.
Where do you think you get that strength from? Like if you had to give credit to either a person or a moment or a thing, where do you think, if someone's looking to channel that, right? What do you think you channeled, or where do you think that comes from?
Like the strength to move past it, or
Yeah,
like the
to
strength to
the strength to do something different, or to want more, or whatever it was.
um that's a good question. I think for me, I always like had an idea of how I wanted my life to end up, right? And so I think like I always wanted to like get married, and like I wanted to have kids, and I wanted like I always pictured that and I always envisioned that. And when I got into this relationship, like I didn't want that because of how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I felt like being married to that person would be like even more controlling, and I felt like it wouldn't be fair bringing kids into that situation, and so I couldn't see that either. And so I felt like I still want to be able to have like a marriage and kids, and it's not going to happen with this person. Like, and I think at the beginning I thought like, well, maybe he'll change, like he promises he will.
Yeah.
But a few years into it, I think I started to realize like this is just like not gonna happen. Like this is just getting worse and worse. And so like something bad's gonna happen to me, or like or I need to get out. So I think that was a point that so I think it was just kind of like harnessing like everything that I've always wanted in my life and knowing that like I have to accept with what like I'm getting. Like I could sit here and like, or at that time I could have like believed like, okay, like he is going to change. And like, even though like what's in front of me is that like things are just getting worse and worse and like it's just going to get worse. And like, so I think I always knew the facts. Like I was always very inquisitive of like being like, okay, well, what happened with this? Or like trying to understand things. And so like I always kind of knew like this is the road I'm going on. And like if I want to stop it, I need to stop it. Like I can't continue to keep going on. So I think maybe just really like thinking about what you want in your life and like if you're in a situation, if it is a relationship or a job or whatever, and you can't see yourself getting to where you need to be there, then I think just making that choice to make peace with it and let it go.
Yeah.
And like when your fears come in where you're just like, okay, well, what if I never have this? Or like, what if this never happens for me? Then you just tell yourself like, I don't know how this is going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. I think that most people would feel that though. Like most people would feel like, because you said it yourself. You're like like I kind of knew is what you said. You're like, I kind of understood that this wasn't the person I was going to be with. And so I would assume that other people feel the same way. They kind of already know, but just don't know how to get out. I think there's a time factor in it. That's the main reason why when we started this conversation, or when we started the beginning of this second part of the conversation, was I stressed the part about you leaving and asking about massive action. Because I think that you just don't really know what to do or how to do it until you're in a place where you could think clearly. And so regardless of that, you admitted and said, I kind of always knew, but it wasn't until you got away and felt safe enough to go with those thoughts you already knew that you were able to take action, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing as growing up as a kid, and I hate to relate the two. They're the same emotionally, but they're not the same, right? It's different. But growing up in a home where I thought that was just my life. Like, this is just my life now. But knowing I didn't want it to be, kind of similar to what you said. Like, I know that I don't want to live in this family. I know that I don't want to be my parents when I grow up. I know that I want to be nicer than them. I don't know how to. I know I want that. And I think it's like, get out. And that literally, and I literally mean that. And this is my advice to anyone. I've been in an abusive relationship, by the way, the other way around. I wasn't physically being abused, but I've been with a girl that was emotionally fucked up, like abusive in all the other ways. If this person was bigger than me, they probably would have beat me up. But it's like, I know kind of what it feels like the other way around. Never exactly. I'll never know exactly what that feels like. But I know what it's like to not be appreciated in a relationship. And I know what it's like to want to be out of a relationship that you feel like you can't get out of. And I know what that's like in a family setting too. And that's my advice to people is get out. Because like there's zero amount of help. I love my mom, right? We don't get along. I've literally said I love my mom and I hate my mom in the same sentence and meant both of them. I do. I don't like her. I hate some of the things she's done, but I love her. That's how it is. You can be that way. You know what I mean? That's allowed. What I'm saying, because I'm not in that situation, I can figure that out. But when you're in a situation where you feel like there's more you can do, there's something I can do for this family, there's something I can do to save my mom, or something I can do to save my brother, my sister, whoever, you're just not going to make the right choices. You're just going to keep this cycle, right? You got to get out. You got to leave. And when I was a kid, I ran away. No ambitions. Everyone always asks me that. Did you always know that because I work a decent job, I'm helpful, I work in my community, I'm a good friend, I have good advice, I would like to say. And everyone's like, did you always? No, never. I just wanted to get out. I just wanted to, I want to be loved. And I wanted a hot meal, and I wanted to not be made fun of at school. That's it. And I wish that I can say, like, I always knew, didn't know anything. Just, I knew that it wasn't working. And I'm pretty sure someone in a relationship like you were in, or someone else, kind of knows that same thing. Yeah. Your intuition is right. Get out. Exactly what you did, which is move away. There's nothing. I don't care what anyone says. There's nothing cowardly, wrong, whatever word people want to attach to it. You have to get out. You have to leave. You have to get out of there. Yeah. And then when you can think clearly, you make the best decision to get yourself in a healthy position. And then later on in life, when you build up the courage and resiliency to deal with those things, you come back and you help people in similar positions. but you can't skip those steps. And so you have to get out. You cannot stay in that relationship and fix it. You have to get out and then see what you're capable of doing from that standpoint. It's almost like trying to teach someone not to drown while you're both drowning. You know what I mean? Like, you can't save anyone if you're both drowning. You got to get out. You know what I mean? You got to figure something out. You got to get out. That way you can grab the orange floaty thing and throw it in. You know what I mean? You can't help someone if you're also drowning. You're just going to drag each other down. You got to get out. You can make better decisions. And that's scary, because what does that mean? In a drowning situation, what does that mean? You're leaving the person drowning. Scary, right? Yeah. And it feels responsible. It feels like, how dare I leave someone here drowning? But in reality, you got to take that tough step and get out of there so you can give more options to help that person. You just have to. And that's my version of it. I think you did that, and I think you're doing it now, and I think you will do even more in the future. I think I've done that in different ways. We both have, and there are people that listen, they want to know those things, I think. And I think that it's important to know that you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have all the resources. Just get away. Get away from that person. Get out. Things will become clearer. Things will make more sense. Things will feel better when you get out of there.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like for me, I was really lucky to have a lot of support. Like, I had a really good support system from my friends. You know, I think that, like, I definitely made it seem easier than it was, because that's just my personality. You know, like, I'm very, like, upbeat and, you know, things like that. And I think, like, my work too, like, I think about when you were talking, I was thinking about my work at the time and just how things kind of like lined up. But, like, during that time I was working at a restaurant, and the owner had just maybe like a few years before lost his sister from domestic violence. And I actually got hired on that job. I had, like, no experience as a server, but I got hired on because I look like her. It's kind of weird, like, talking about it now. Later on, I didn't know that at the time, but later on,
they ended up telling you, hey, like, you remind us of her.
Yeah, and, like, we had a good feeling about you, like, you know, so that's why we hired you. So they knew when it was happening that, like, you know, I would go to work and they would see things, you know, and so that they knew. And I remember, like, the owner, he had a conversation with me, and he was just like, hey, like, if you leave, like, you'll have your job when you come back. Like, just leave. And so I'm just, like, so grateful because...
What do you mean leave? Like, leave the job, or you're referring, like, to that relationship?
Oh, because the opportunity, like, my family was like, hey, come to Montana and stuff like that. And so, like...
So your job was saying if you move away...
Yeah, like, you can come back and you'll have a job. Like, you'll be fine.
Did they knew about this relationship?
Yeah. And he actually, like, brought it up to me, like, I don't know if I brought it up to him that, like, there was the opportunity for me to move, or if he just before that told me, like, hey, like, if you ever need to leave, like, you'll have a job when you come back. So just leave. Like, if you need to move, just go. And so I think whenever my parents came down and they kind of saw how things were going, they were like, you know, you need to come, like, you should come. And my boss at the time was just, like, super supportive, and I talked to him about it, and he was like, yeah, like, you need to go. Like, you need to do what's good for you, and trust me, we'll be here when you come back. And so that kind of gave me, like, a lot of confidence, I guess, because I was like, okay, like, and I don't know how it would be for somebody that, like, doesn't have that, or, like, didn't have that at that time, like somebody that's like, hey, I'm going to lose my job, like, or I don't have family that I can move with. And their option is to go to a shelter, or, like, you know, I did have some friends that, like, did stop talking to me during that time. Like, I was grateful that I had most of my friends that continue to support me. But I did have some friends that chose not to, and I was hurt about it at the time, but now I feel like I understand and I don't have hurt feelings about it. But if I would have had no friends, like, I feel like I would have probably been in a really hard spot. So I guess what I'm saying is that, like, support is crucial in that situation.
So you're mostly saying that for the people that know someone that's in an abusive relationship,
yeah.
Right? Because it's not the person being abused's job to create the support system. It's the people around them. It's important to remind them to step up to be the support system for the person. So, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you're saying if you know someone that's in an abusive relationship, support them and stand up and don't leave them, even if they don't always make the right choices, right? Like a lot of times doesn't happen in abusive relationships. There's a lot of bad choices that seem like you're turning your back on friends, family sometimes. I'm not saying it's what happened with you, but it's pretty common. So you're saying stick by those people because it helped you, it worked for you. Even your boss saying, hey, you have even something small like that. Hey, if you need to get away from this relationship, when you come back, you got a job still. So you're saying that it's important for people to support and be available for someone that they know is in an abusive relationship, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's definitely like a annoyance factor sometimes, I feel, or like people are just like, why can't you just leave? Or like, you know, it's so simple. Like if somebody's not treating you good, then you just leave. And I used to be like that. Like I
to other people.
Yeah, like before that relationship, I'm like, it's so simple. Like there's so many guys out there. Like pick one. There's so many, you know. But like when you get caught in that, and somebody is like really messing with you psychologically, like it's rough. And I feel like I'm very strong-minded, and I have that kind of type of personality where like it's hard for people to overpower me, I guess, in some way. And I feel like it happened to me. Like it can happen to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brighter topics.
No, you're. I'm just happy that you talked about it. I really am. Yeah. I don't know if there's a way to give you all the props, if you want to call them, that you truly deserve. But I think that if we do a podcast in the future, or when we do one, I think it'd be a good, like there's opportunities there for you, like to like talk about certain things that you think are relevant, for sure. Yeah. But I think that there isn't enough words, I think, to express like how cool it is, and I admire that. I really do, and I get confused a lot as someone who sets a tone, or someone that wants to be admired. I know that that's one of my needs. We've talked about that in counseling and stuff. It's like it is, but it means even more to me when I can admire someone, and I say that as a compliment, because I don't admire a lot of people. I'm not easily admired. I don't like celebrities that I think are cool. I'm not that guy. Like I'm not like, oh my God, like I'm not like a fanboy. Like when I admire someone, I fucking admire them. Like I really, really do. And so it's rare. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you is like I truly, 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 truly do admire that about you. And I look up to that. And I think it's really cool that you did that. You're welcome. Yeah. Could I still cheat on you online later on those websites? I'm just kidding.
Nope.
Damn it. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that clip, click on this link right over here to subscribe to this clip's channel. Or if you want to view the entire conversation, go ahead and click on this link over here to view the entire podcast. Bet you on the next one, guys.